بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين المصطفى أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله يا غريب كربلاء. رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا والقبر والآخرة. أما بعد، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قال موسى لقومه إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة. قالوا أتتخذنا هزوا؟ قال أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to start off by saying it is an honor and a pleasure to see everybody again and be reunited with this wonderful and spiritually imbued community and the lovers of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam. It's a very important occasion, Arbaeen, and there is a need amongst the lovers of Ahlul Bayt to remember the sha'air of Allah, the ayyam Allah. In the Quran, we'll find that there are references such as the signs of Allah, the days of Allah. Many are the days of Allah throughout the calendar. Hajj, for example, Shahr Ramadan. Ashura is no doubt one of them. But over the next couple of nights, I would like to take some time from each of the lectures, and I know tonight is a work night, so we'll try our best to keep it a little bit on the shorter side. But I want to expound upon for both our youth as well as our elders over the course of the next 4 nights why exactly we are here. We already did Ashura, what's the point of being here now? And part of that has to do within the name of Arbaeen itself, or in Urdu, Gujarati, the Indo-Pak languages, Chela. 40. It has been 40 days, give or take. I mean, on Saturday will be the actual 40th, since the Shahada of Abi Abdullah, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Al-Hussein ibn Ali, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
But why 40 days? Why not 50? Why not 100? Why not the very next day right after that? Something within the human psyche screams discipline and repetition and making it a habit when it comes to 40 as a number. You'll find in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ أَرْبَعِينَ سَنَةً, until the person becomes 40 years old. He becomes mature at 40 years old. Now you have a track record. Now you have a litmus test to see, let's see who this person actually is. Now you've become calcified, you become solidified. We know who you are as a person. You're either firmly on Sirat al-Mustaqim or you're not. Now this is not to say that there is no hope for you after 40. Many have changed their path even after 40. Case in point, for example, Al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi on the 10th of Muharram, an hour before his death. And so while it's not set in stone, it's cementing at 40 years old. What else do we see at 40? We see from the sermon of Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamu alayhi that the Jews had not had the salt water on their feet dry up before they started worshipping a golden calf. And this was all in the course of 40 days. 40 days between what would be probably the most memorable miracle of both the Bible and the Quran, the splitting of the sea, and the hadith of the A'immah make it even more grand. There are 12 paths in the sea, one for each of the tribes of Bani Israel. Why? Because they started to, in our language, what they would call show some nakhra. Right? They started to have a little bit of attitude. No, we don't all want to go down one path. We want to have 12 different paths. And how do we know that the other paths are still open and our brothers, these other tribes, are still walking along the paths that they've been given? So now, Musa, take your stick and do horizontal mile markers, basically, so that we can keep on checking. Okay, yep, they're still there. Then we'll go another mile or so. Okay, they're still there. After such a big miracle, 40 days later, what happens to the majority of Bani Israel? They're worshipping a golden calf. When it comes to many of the a'mal that we have in our corpus, for example, Dua Ahad. Dua Ahad is supposed to be recited how many mornings, brothers and sisters? 40. And with this dua, you are trying to basically do bay'ah. You're trying to give allegiance to the Imam of your time. How are you supposed to say, Ya Sahib al-Zaman, I really mean it when I said in Ashura to your grandfather, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum fanafuza fawzan azima. How is Sahib al-Zaman supposed to see that you're taking this seriously if you can't even recite a simple dua for 40 days straight? When the number 40 comes up, you find patterns in the Islamic, at least the school of Ahlul Bayt's culture. So why now are we here on the 40th day, brothers and sisters, after Ashura? Because Ashura was where the seeds were planted. This is a quick progress check. How far have you gone? Have you let it all go? Is Imam Hussein just on night 9, night 10, and Sham Ghariba, night 11? And then khalas, Khuda Hafiz, that's all we needed to do for Imam Hussein? See you next year? Or did this series of 10 nights mean anything to you? You know, brothers and sisters, I came across a really, really interesting quote, which I want to share with you. And that quote is this. we as human beings, especially in the 21st century, have this mentality of what is this or what is this person doing for me? For example, you have this quote even with one of the presidents of this country, John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, rather ask what you can do for your country. All of us know it. Even if we don't know each other's languages, this phrase in English, we all know it. SubhanAllah. Yeah, when it comes to our lectures, when it comes to Ashura, when it comes to Arbaeen, we all have this mentality, and some of us don't even want to come in person. Some of us want to just watch online, or wait for it to come online. Or maybe we'll go and catch our favorite Mulana, Sayyid Fulan, Sheikh Fulan, because their style is a lot more interesting. It's time that we let go of this mentality of what am I getting out of this lecture, and start asking, what is this lecture getting out of me? There's many people who, inshallah, if this recording is successful, inshallah, right, Hassan, right? Yeah. If this recording is successful and it's on YouTube, many people will be just content consumers. All they'll do is just watch one majlis, then go to another. Then they'll go to a finance video, then they'll go to a funny video. Then they'll go to a kitten video, then they'll go to who knows what. Maybe some of them, it's not even Ashura, it's not even Arbaeen anymore, I'll listen to some music. But then there are those who treat a majlis like how a majlis is supposed to be treated. And they'll actually start to take action. Do you know how blessed that one majlis, it could be the most mundane and boring of majalis, but if one point clicks with you, your mind shift changes, or your mindset changes. I remember once, and this is why, by the way, our religion is so reminder-centric. فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى سَيَذَّكَّرُ مَن يَخْشَى. Remind if the reminder has any benefit. If it's a beneficial reminder. What's the reminder over here? سَيَذَّكَّرُ مَن يَخْشَى. It's the Quran. It's Ahlul Bayt. Isn't it beneficial? Meaning Rasulullah's job is, because it's so beneficial, all your job is just keep going. The one who will want to remember, he'll come to you on his own. You just keep on going. The majalis of Aba Abdullah will keep on going. All you have to do is ask yourself, is this the majlis? Is this the ashra? Is this the arba'een? Is this the year that I finally come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Ahlul Bayt? Or am I going to just go back to work tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday. I'll come again tomorrow. I'll hear something else that's another content consuming tidbit or a sound bite when it's Salat al-Jum'ah. Or the next majlis. And then we'll see. That's why this lecture is titled from the perspective of Imam al-Mahdi, Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajalallahu ta'ala. It's titled, how much longer? Because we think that we're waiting for him. No, brothers and sisters. He's not the awaited Imam. You know what he is? He's the awaiting Imam. He's waiting for us to get our acts together, to finally go and study the Quran, Allah's words, to study his grandfathers for all their worth, instead of just sending a WhatsApp message when it comes to the wilada or shahada of Imam al-Jawad and saying, okay, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, khalas, I've done my duty towards this Imam, now I can go back to my life. This isn't some kind of joke. These are a blessing. This is a treasure that we've been given that nobody else in the world has been given. And yet we act with such impudence and such disrespect in our day-to-day lives. And then we have the audacity to ask, well, why aren't there even 313? You're not taking action, but you want 313 other people to take action so that Sahib al-Zaman can come back and he'll solve all of your problems? If you're not someone who takes action, Sahib al-Zaman has a track record of 11 grandfathers. The Holy Prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Ali Muhammad.
Prophets and prophets and prophets before him. He knows what humanity is like. Why do you think Allah has put this one in ghaiba? He said, I'll keep this one here, hidden. He's here. Can anybody tell that this is a fist? Of course it's a fist. It'll come out in the open when you're ready. Sahib al-Zaman is asking how much longer? You know, there's a theory. Don't take this as gospel truth. This isn't from a source text, but this is something food for thought. Treat this as if this is true. What's this thought? You know, about 100 years after Ghaibat al-Kubra started, when Sahib al-Zaman first went into Ghaibat al-Kubra, many of the scholars 100 years later thought he was going to come back in their lifetime. They were under the impression that Sahib al-Zaman is going to come back in our lifetimes because it's been 100 years. That's all that Ghaibat al-Kubra was supposed to be. Fine, Ghaibat al-Sughra was 79 years, let's say 69 years. Ghaibat al-Kubra will be about 100 years. It's Kubra, right? So okay, fine, 30 more years. The theory is that they must have had access to some hadith which has been lost to us in history, and every 100 years Allah will give each generation a chance to bring back the Imam of the time. Meaning, how old is he right now? 1100 and some change? 1200 almost? Even 12 times already humanity has failed to bring forward worthy people, worthy Shi'as, people who can call themselves Shia, that the 12th Imam would come back. 12 times we failed. Or 11 times, and now let's see if we fail a 12th time. So for example, what does Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman want us to pay attention to from his grandfathers? For example, Imam al-Hasan, such an understudied Imam. Where I come from, we just had 10 nights in a row for the older brother of Imam al-Hussein. We have 10 nights every year for Imam al-Hussein, right? What about the older brother, his Imam? We just did successfully, alhamdulillah, 10 nights. It was streamed on Ahl Bayt TV. It will be streamed, inshallah, again next year on Ahl Bayt TV. It's up on YouTube right now. Layal al-Hasaniyah. I tell you, this Imam for 10 years, what kind of musibah did he have to go through? One after the other after the other. And up until today, Banu Umayyah's propaganda against him and Banu Abbas, because the descendants of Imam al-Hasan were the ones who were always revolting against Banu Abbas. So they went for the patriarchy, or for the patriarch of this lineage, of the Hassanid dynasty, and they went directly after Imam al-Hasan. And they said, this one, oh, look how many times he married. Look at the weakness. He went and signed a treaty. Look at this, look at that. Whereas Hussein, he rose, he fought. Utter rubbish. But this is what, unfortunately, Imam al-Hasan has to deal with when his own Shia do not give him what respect he deserves. He's been sidelined by us. Who is he supposed to have hope in, if not us? Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, quick bit of history. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam,
Muhammad salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
in his final days had written a letter to his commander in Azerbaijan. He said, Nahrawan has just finished. I have 40,000. You have 80,000. Bring your men, we'll unite, and we'll go and march on Sham. Okay? He goes and writes this letter, and there was a system over here. Actually, the system will come back to in a little bit, of the messengers. Imam Ali sends his messenger towards Azerbaijan. He gets there within a day or two because there is this system that I mentioned, which is usually to deliver a letter, it'll take maybe a week. Because you don't want to kill the horse. You don't want to kill the horseman. It's desert, right? So you'll have basically what we know as a marathon. Right? Where one person does this leg of the journey, they give the letter to the next person, and this person starts the next leg of the journey, they carry on, then they go to the next checkpoint, the next person takes the letter, all the way up until you get to the intended destination. Imam Ali, around the middle of Shahr Ramadan, of the year 40 after Hijrah, sends a letter to his commander in Azerbaijan. pure lover of Ahlul Bayt, this man. He's ready to help Amir al-Mu'mineen. He gets the letter, he sends the affirmative, he says, I'm joining you. I'm bringing my 80,000 men, approximately 120,000 men. Right? Muawiyah has somewhere around 90 to 100. Right? Imam Ali is like, let's go. We're going to go finish him. Except what happens on the 19th? So he sends his letter on the 15th. He gets the reply on the 17th. He's waiting. What happens on the 19th of Ramadan? Ibn Muljam comes and strikes Mawla on his head. And by the 21st, he's dead. On the 24th or the 25th, those forces enter Kufa. Who's the Imam of the time now? Imam Hassan. Imam Hassan takes these men. He has 120,000 strong. He says, let's go. Muawiyah has more men now. He's heard about this. He's also been recruiting. I don't care. Let's go. He takes all 120,000 men and he marches to Sham. Then what? Muawiyah now starts his dirty politics. He starts his dirty tactics. Towards the front of the army, he sends a letter towards Ibn Abbas. Most likely Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, the younger of the two brothers. He sends him a letter and says, if you abandon Hassan ibn Ali, I know you were tired. You just went through Siffin, you went through Nahrawan. When you go again, look, your men are tired. Look, I'll make this easy for you. 1 million, which one? Dirham or dinar? Dinar. Dinar is the gold. Those of you who are on your phones, inshallah, you can tell us how much 1 gram of gold today costs in US dollars. Now imagine 1 million of the coins. This is heavy stuff. Ibn Abbas, the dunya goes and glazes over his eyes and he says, 1 million. I lost both of my sons to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, but I don't even have anybody who will provide after me. Ibn Abbas is his cousin, by the way. He says, I don't have anybody who will go and take care of me after. I'm done. I don't know where I'm going to get 1 million. So he goes and accepts, and in the front, about 30,000 are defected from the army of Imam Hassan. Then he goes and sends, this is now Muawiyah, he goes and sends someone from behind to send to the 60,000 in the back that Hassan ibn Ali has forfeited. He's called for peace. He wants to go home. And so these guys are all mad. They're like, we came out for war. We want to go and finish the fitna in the land. And Hassan is, we say Imam al-Hassan, they don't trust their Imam. They say, what? What is this? Imam al-Hassan didn't say, I want peace. He goes. But these guys all defect, and now how much does he have left? 60,000 are minus from 120,000 over here. 30,000 are minus from over here. The final 30,000 are over here. Imam al-Hassan, even with these 30,000, he says, let's go. He has more than 120,000 right now, Muawiyah. Imam al-Hassan only has 30,000. Even these, they start to dwindle. They're starting to hear the rumors. Wait, half of our army is gone because Imam al-Hassan accepted peace? Now, because the rumor starts spreading among these last 30,000, someone comes and stabs Imam al-Hassan al-Mushtaba in the back. In the back. And he says, Ya Ar al-Mu'mineen, O disgrace of the believers. And Imam al-Hassan is like, okay, what can I do now? Now my own army is starting to fight against me. I don't know who's going to attack me next. What else can I do? And so he says, okay, we're going to stop over here. Muawiyah then says, look, I've pretty much dwindled your army down. You don't know who's going to attack you next. We have way more army, because now look, 30,000 from Ibn Abbas has been added to Muawiyah's previous number. So now he has, let's say, upwards of 150 or 160,000. Imam al-Hassan doesn't even know if he has 30,000. Muawiyah now goes and sends, he says, here is a blank treaty. Name your terms. I'll accept whatever you want. And then Imam al-Hassan goes and puts down whatever terms he puts. About 16 we've recovered in history. That's not the point of this majlis. But on his way back, after he's sent this, he's gotten the signature of Muawiyah saying, I will abide to these terms. On his way back to Medina, Imam al-Hassan is on his horse, and someone comes with a poison dagger. This is within the same couple of months after Imam Ali was just killed with a poison dagger. Someone now comes with a poison dagger and they stab Imam al-Hassan where? In the thigh, while he's riding on his horse. Imam al-Hassan, Madloom, Ahlul Bayt. Of course, they're all Madloom. But he's Madloom in the sense that we don't even know what his story is. Brothers and sisters, why am I even mentioning this right now in the minbar? Because if we don't know this history, how are we supposed to start analyzing it? Once we can start analyzing it, we can see that these 30,000, these 60,000, we're not just supposed to go and say, oh, Mal'oon, and then we leave them to the pages of history. We're supposed to learn from them. What was their mistake? Such that when my Imam comes back, I don't make the same mistake. The mistake was, when the Imam of my time has some kind of a plan, I trust him blindly. That's why he's my guide. Otherwise, if I'm supposed to be guiding him, Allah should have picked me. The entire reason that he's the Imam and I'm not is that when he is smarter than me and he's saying, we're doing this, then I say, Sami'na wa ata'na, I don't question him. The next Imam that we see this from, and I'm going randomly from the Imams, is Imam Rida alayhi salam. Where he is named as the crown prince of Ma'mun, and how many a Shia was ticked off. Because how dare you go and accept the Wali al-Ahad of Ma'mun? Shame on you. Can you imagine a Shia saying to the Imam, shame on you? Can you imagine someone having the gall to go and say to Imam al-Hassan, Ya Ar al-Mu'mineen? This is not the positive role models that we should be taking from. These are the negative role models that we should be taking from. And these are Shias, or at least so-called Shias. Maybe they have some taqseer in their behalf, but that's not taqseer that Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman can afford. That's something that we have to iron out right now. He can't afford these kinds of wrinkles in his armor, these kinds of chinks where he has a vulnerability. We could be a vulnerability. Do you want to be known in history, in Jannah, as the one weak link in Sahib al-Zaman's army? No. So then start working on yourself right now. When Imam Rida alayhi salam takes that position from Ma'mun, he was also forced. And when they go and ask him, why would you go and take that position? He says, doesn't Nabi Yusuf willingly take and ask for a position in a non-Muslim's government? I am being forced in a Muslim's government. And you're coming after me? Can't you put two and two together? This is Imam number 8, by the way. The community hasn't matured and developed by then to understand that there are circumstances other than, oh, he's just doing this because he wants to. This is exactly what happened with Imam al-Hassan, isn't it? They thought that, oh, he's just doing this because he wants to. He wants to go and become peaceful. He wants to become weak. He wants to give up. He wants to throw in the towel. Understand, brothers and sisters, that if any of the other 11 Imams were in the position of Abu Abdullah, they would have done the same thing that Imam Hussein did. And if Imam Hussein was in the position of any of the others, he would have done the exact same thing that the others. So today, in our majlis for Arbaeen, when we're seeing what are we supposed to get out of this majlis, we're not supposed to get anything out of this majlis. The majlis is supposed to get something out of us. We're supposed to evaluate those previous generations who we've been hearing about and hearing about and hearing about. And maybe in some cases we haven't even heard about. And now start to look in the mirror and say with that jihad al-nafs finger, start to point out the flaws in ourselves and start to say, this won't work with Sahib al-Zaman. This won't work with Sahib al-Zaman. There's a story of someone who used to make soap. In our, maybe a couple of decades ago, used to make soap. This is in the back home countries, right? And someone comes in and they say, we need sidra, kafur, and the shroud, and we need all of these kinds of things. And he says, that's not usual in these parts. And he looks at their dress. They're dressed like they're from a couple of eras ago, the Ma'sumeen's era. Now, he's a Shia, but he's like, nobody dresses like this anymore. This is like, what I'm wearing right now plus then some, And he's looking at them, he's like, you guys aren't from here. I don't recognize your faces. Where are you from? He says, can we just get on with the transaction? We want to go. He says, okay, but I'm really curious. Can you tell me more? So, okay. We are from Sahib al-Zaman. One of our companions has died. He sent us so that we can go and get the burial things for his janazah. We're about to go. He immediately starts pleading with them, please take me with you, please take me with you, please take me with you. What's his job? He owns a grocery store. He also, remember, like how I said, he carves soap. And then he leaves it on the roof for it to dry. Okay. Now he goes with them. They finally take him. They happen upon a river. It's a big river. They can't, cross through it. It's too deep. There's no shallow part. So he's wondering, you guys have these long flowing robes. What are you guys going to do? Don't worry, we're just going to walk on top of the water. He says, like Jesus style? You guys are going to go on walk on water like Jesus? He says, yeah, why not? Okay, well, can I do that? Yeah. Take this paper, keep it with you. Don't look. Just, remember, like, okay, I'm crossing this water with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and with the safety of Sahib al-Zaman. Remember, the walk is a long walk. It's not like, this little 2-3 step walk. Halfway through, what comes into his mind? Or not what comes into his mind, it starts raining. So now he's starting to get a little bit wet, but what does his mind go to? He says, oh no, I just immediately left with these two people to go and see Sahib al-Zaman. I left all of my soap on the roof, on the grocery store. Immediately, as soon as he gets this spot, he sinks into the water. And I'm like, what happened? No, it's okay. Now they have to go and drag him because he has to start all over again. We're not going to do that, so they go and drag him. Okay. They eventually get to where Sahib al-Zaman is. They get to a green tent. Green tent with like practically nur just radiating out of it. They say, okay, you stay out here. We're going to go inside. We're going to get ijazah. Once we have permission, then you can come. Okay. Now Sahib al-Zaman is heard loudly, angrily telling them, how dare you bring such a person over here? We're like, we're so sorry. We thought that you would be okay with it. He said, the one who has his mind on his business, on his soap, how is he going to have enough focus for me? He's not worthy of being here in my presence. Take him back. So the person didn't get to meet him. He was taken back. This is why we need to go and look at previous prophets and imams. Really show that dedication and that commitment. This is what Arbaeen is for. It's a check. It's a pulse check. Are you alive or not? You were pretty alive on the day of Ashura. You were beating your chests. You were crying your hearts out. How have you been doing in the 40 days since? So alhamdulillah, we're not there at Arbaeen yet. That's Saturday. Today is, we're building up to it. So that on Arbaeen, are you able to cry or not? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen has to face the same thing. In Siffin, what happens? They go and put the masahif, the Qur'ans on spears, and they say, let the Qur'an judge. La hukma illa lillah. Right? No judge except for Allah. Many of the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen were fooled by this. He said, keep on fighting. I am the Qur'an and Natiq. I'm the walking, talking Qur'an after Rasulullah. Keep going, keep fighting. How many of them listened? Malik al-Ashtar, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Ammar al-Yasir, Ammar al-Yasir. A few. The handful. That's all. Everybody else, what do? They take out their swords and they go and point it to the Prophet of the Mu'mineen. They say, if you don't go and accept for arbitration, for sulh with Muawiyah, then we'll do to you what we did to Uthman. And you will assassinate him. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, does he have a choice over here? Does he want to keep on fighting Siffin or no? Of course he does. But he's coerced into this dumb arbitration where he's not even allowed to go and choose his man. He wants to go and send Malik al-Ashtar. No, not Malik al-Ashtar. Send Ash'af al-Qais. One of the Khawarij. Later on Khawarij. This is where the Khawarij were formed. Imam al-Hussein Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. He is starting off with thousands of people when he's leaving from Medina and Mecca. Every single night though, he turns out the candles and he says, if you want to leave, leave in the darkness of the night, no one will see. No one will see your face. You can use this as your excuse, you can go. So many people in those nights leading up to before they got to Karbala, so many people left. Sometimes one or two, sometimes hundreds. Until all that's left with Imam al-Hussein is a little bit more than 100, including the women and children. And then you know what happened with Imam al-Hussein. Those few were the few who, with their holy blood, they wrote history. But what's the delimiting factor that made their blood holy? They were trained. They were training themselves that wherever the truth comes, wherever it comes from, we're ready to sacrifice ourselves for it. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian, like Wahab al-Kalbi before him. Doesn't matter if you're on the side of Uthman before him, like Zuhair ibn Qayn. And then you switch sides. Doesn't matter if you're Khurr bin Yazid al-Riyahi. You're on the army of Umar bin Sa'd an hour before Imam al-Hussein has to start fighting. Doesn't matter. As long as you have those principles inculcated in yourself, then you're ready. This is why, brothers and sisters, I mentioned the ayah at the outset. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً قَالُوا أَتَتَّخِذُنَا هُزُوًا قَالَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ أَنْ أَكُونَ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. This is a heartbreaking ayah, brothers and sisters. Well, once you understand what I'm about to go through with this ayah, inshallah, just like me, whenever you hear this being recited, if you just go and put on Surah Al-Baqarah in the car and you come across this ayah, you can't help but start to get teary-eyed. Why? Musa is a prophet of God, isn't he? Of course he is. He's not just a prophet of God, he's a messenger of God, he's a Rasul. And yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala records 2 extra words that he shouldn't have had to say. What are those? Inna Allah. Inna, for those of you who know a little bit of Arabic, is the participle of basically tawqeed, of making sure that you are certain that this is really what happened. For sure, no doubt, definitely. Inna Allah. No doubt, it's Allah. It's Allah what? يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً. He's the one who's commanding you that you need to kill a cow. Why does Musa even need to say Inna Allah ya'murukum? Because he knows that they won't listen to him. Right now, if Rasulullah goes and says something, if he says قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. The heartbreaking part of this ayah is that Rasulullah even needs to say قُلْ, or Allah needs to tell him قُلْ. If Rasulullah says anything, it should have already been مَا يَنْتَقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He doesn't speak from himself. Everything he says is wahi. Everything he says is wahi. He doesn't just say out of his love for Fatima al-Zahra that Fatima is the mother of her father, Ummi Abiha. No, there is a deep meaning over here that you need to research. He's not just being poetic. Rasulullah doesn't know poetry. Quran is attesting to he doesn't know poetry. وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لَهُ. It's not even suited for him. He's too good for this. We don't go and pay attention to this. This is why it's heartbreaking when Musa has to come and say, Inna Allah ya'murukum. It's, guys, it's Allah. Allah is the one who's commanding you to go and slaughter a calf. And yet, what do they say? Are you joking with us? Do you take us as fools? Are you serious? This isn't something that just started with Imam Rida. This isn't something that started with Imam Hussein. This isn't something that started with Imam al-Hassan. Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, before we come back to Musa. Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam is sitting with someone from his classes in Baghdad. And they ask him, Imam, you have 900 circles. Each one of them is saying, Haddathani Ja'far ibn Muhammad. حدثني صادق آل Muhammad. So many people are learning from you, they're dictating hadith from you, they're learning so much from you. Have them all rise. Let's go and show these Abbasids who's really supposed to be in charge. He says, okay, how many people do you think we have? He says, 900 circles, each one let's say has 10 people. That's a lot of people. He says, okay. You're one of them? He says, yeah, of course, I love you. He says, okay, see that oven over there? It's on. We're sitting. He says, oh, I mean, wow, are you serious? Can we go and sit inside of an active oven that's on? He's just looking at it. Someone comes, says, Assalamu alaikum, ya Mawlai, Go and sit inside of this, or not sit, go and sit inside of this oven. So, okay. Picks up the top, goes and sits inside of it, closes it behind him. Now this guy is starting to freak out. He says, Imam, let him out, go. He's starting to really become agitated. He's starting to become nervous. So why are you agitated? Why are you nervous? He says, he's probably dead. Why did you do that? He's one of us. He's a Shia like us. He says, are you worried about it? Go check on it. Go to the oven, pick it up, pick up the lid, go check how he's doing. Goes and checks on it. He's just sitting over there calm. The fire turned off. He goes and looks around and around. Mom says, how many men like that do we have? If I had 40, this is what Rasulullah even told, if you have 40, rise. Imam Ali had a lot of people on day one. He said, we're with you. Let's go. Let's take back the Khilafah. He says, okay, if you're really serious about this, shave your heads and come meet me here tomorrow morning. 6 people. Now, math may not be my forte, but 4 is a lot less than 60. How many people do you think Imam Sadiq had? Do you think he had 40? Even if he had 40. Imam Hassan was ready to even go with 40. In the story that I told you. But he doesn't know if he even has 40. Because the people who are surrounding him, marching towards Muawiyah, they're already stabbing him. Literally stabbing him in the back. Not even figuratively, literally. Each and every single Imam has the same problem. And we're over here saying, Ya Sharik al-Quran. We don't even have a good relationship with the Quran, but we're asking him to come back for what? So that we can have him martyred too? You think there's any more after him? We call him too easily. We're not ready for him, brothers and sisters. I'm not ready for him. There are some people, however, who have a plane ticket that is indefinite, ready to go and fly to Mecca, so that as soon as he's between the Rukn and the Maqam, and he goes and calls for supporters, they're ready and they can go and just quit their job, quit everything in their livelihood, and just go and be at his service. I want to be like that. I'm sure all of you want to be like that. This is what Arbaeen is for. It's for this kind of development, so that we can say, we're here with you, for real this time. O Imam of my time. So coming back to Musa, he said, are you serious? Are you taking us for a joke? Do you think we're fools? Later on, we're going to see that it's because there's a murder. So now imagine, you came in on a Thursday night to your community center over here, and there's a dead body. And now I, over here from the mimbar, I say, Allah is commanding you, go find a cow. I don't know how easy it is to find a cow in Indianapolis, but you guys are going to probably give me the same kind of reaction. Are you serious right now? And what does Musa have to say? He says, look, I have a sense of humor too. Prophets are good-natured. They have a sense of humor. Inshallah, one of the nights maybe we'll even go and tell some of the jokes that Rasulullah and Imam Ali would have between themselves. You might think this isn't funny, but they have a sense of humor. They have a sense of humor. Musa says, "A'udhu billahi an akuna min al-jahilin." When it comes to religion, I'm not a fool. I don't play around. This is Allah. Allah is telling me. I shouldn't even have to say Allah is telling me. I am a prophet. Of course what I say is wahi. And yet the Quran has for us to reflect for the end of time, till the end of time, that Musa had to come and say, it's Allah who's saying, you have to. And remember, Musa, how does he go and talk to Allah? He goes, oh, way up a mountain. And he says, Ya Allah, there's a murder, I know they're not going to listen to me. What should we do? Tell them to slaughter a calf. Any calf. Then what do? They go and say, we don't know what a cow is. Can you tell us a little bit more? Musa goes all the way up the mountain again. Shyly goes and says to Allah, Ya Allah, I don't know how to say this, but they're asking what's a cow. Can you give a little bit more detail? I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. Tell them that it is neither too old, neither too young. Now do what you're told. فَافْعَلْ مَا تُؤْمَرُ. Okay. He goes down the mountain, goes and tells them, this is what Allah is saying. He's saying, not too old, not too young. Now do what you're told. They say, it would really help us if you could tell us what color the cow is. Here he goes again. He goes all the way up the mountain. He's like, Ya Allah, no, they're asking for the color. Okay, you want to play this game? No problem. It's going to be yellow. It's going to be gold. It's going to have not a blemish, not a single spot on this cow is going to be any other color but yellow. I drive to Canada once a month. Okay, we see cows sometimes. Even over here, I have to pass through Ohio. I see a lot of cows. I've never seen a yellow cow. I have to Google image what a yellow cow looks like. For 1400 years, when people were reading this ayah, I wonder what their imagination, gave them. But a yellow cow is not easy to find. Finally, they go in to add even more insult. They say, we don't even understand what the concept of cows is. Could you help us even a little bit more? Now Allah's like, you know what? This cow, this yellow, not too old, not too young cow, it's never worked a day in its life, but it's strong. It has no physical defects. All of its muscles are completely fit. They're like, oh, okay, wow. That's the kind of guidance we were looking for. Because now they realize, wait, we're digging our hole deeper and deeper and deeper. We shouldn't have been playing this game. And so they said, okay, yeah, thank you. And then Allah says, even then, you still weren't about to do it. Do you think this is something new for Sahib al-Zaman? Year in and year out, he sees Ashura, he sees Arbaeen, he sees generation. I told you, the theory is that every 100 years, Allah gives each generation a chance. Go ahead, bring him back. If you're really sincere, go ahead. If this is true, is this going to finally be the time where we can finally bring him back? When the 10th of Muharram is on a Friday, and on that 23rd of Ramadan, right before Jibreel has the shout from the sky that the Mahdi is coming. Are we going to be prepared? Because I promise you that just like tomorrow when you have work, the sun is coming up, that day is coming too. Sahib al-Zaman is going to come. Are you going to be with him or no? There's going to be a day where he's not asking how much longer. The day is going to come where he's like, okay, we have T minus 10 days, T minus 9 days, T minus 1 day. If you're there, you're there. Otherwise, stop crying, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum fanafuza fawzan 'azima. You don't mean it. You're not worthy of that phrase. If you want to become worthy of that phrase, it starts with small, little changes in your day-to-day activity. Stop sinning. Some of us are addicted to sin, and this is my final point. This is one practical way that we can start to come back towards the Iman and towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll inshallah continue after Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. What is this? The advice is this. Scoff if you will, but this has worked. If you're having trouble with an addiction, an addicting sin, and you've tried everything, you've just been trying to leave it. Many of my teachers have attested to this, that they have seen people who have successfully been cured. Ask Allah on a night like tonight, that if you have a sin, or maybe you don't have a sin, maybe you have a family member who, no matter what treatment they've been given, has not been able to be treated. listen to a majlis of Imam al-Hussein every single day. Number one, you'll gain knowledge. But number two, when you start to soften yourself up for the musibah of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, watch how the doors of rahmah start to open up. The masa'ib of Ahlul Bayt, brothers and sisters, are lessons for us that this should have never happened. Not to these people. Not to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, this is while one of the Abbasids was in power. They came to Medina, and in each of Banu Hashim's homes they threw a fire into the courtyard so that the entire home would start to catch fire. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is woken up by the women in his home, and they say, Yabna Rasulullah, the house is on fire. They've set our house and the houses of our neighbors on fire. All of our family, they're all on fire. What do we do? Imam Sadiq jumps and he gets into action, and he starts to herd his small daughters, his sons, away and outside of the courtyard, outside of the house, and he takes them out. And then he goes back into the fire, and multiple people witness this, and they see him walking on the fire, and he lifts, and he's barefoot, and he goes and looks up to the sky, and he starts beseeching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Ya Allah, I am the son of Ibrahim, the one who you made the fire bardan wa salama. I am the son of Ismail, Dhabih Allah. I am the son of Muhammad, Habibullah. And through the barakah of Allah, through the blessings that Imam Sadiq had with Allah, the fire throughout the entire house was extinguished. But a couple of days later, many of the Shia, they came to the house of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam because they heard him weeping loudly. And they said, Yabna Rasulullah, why are you crying? It's been a few days. Why are you crying? Are you crying because you are hurt, or your feet hurt when you walked on the fire? Were any of your women or children hurt? He said, no. He said, number one, my young son fainted. Which son of yours was this, Ya Sadiq al Muhammad? This was Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kamil. Why did he faint? He fainted for the same reason I am crying loudly right now with him. Ibn Rasulullah, please gather yourself. Please tell us, what is it that makes you cry? He says, it is two situations that I remember in my family. The first one is when my grandmother Fatima Zahra was standing behind the door, and the door caught fire. They said, we do not care who is in the house, we will burn you and everyone else in it alive. I looked at my son and I remembered her son Muhsin. We thought that would be the last time that our family would see fire. Unfortunately, that was not the last time. After my grandfather Abu Abdullah had been killed by the Umayyads, that was when the real musibah of my family started. One of the Shaqis entered into the tents of my auntie Zainab, and they started to set fire to this tent and that tent until she came to the son of Rasulullah, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, and she said, Yabna Rasulullah, where can we go? Every single tent that we go into, they follow us and we don't have time to warn the women to put on their hijab. He said, Auntie Zainab, go and run into the desert. Just run away. Just keep on. None of these tents are safe for me. I will come after and I will follow you. I will be able to survive the fire. You won't be able to. Just gather everybody and run. The story